Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the stream. Today, I guess we're gonna continue on XSS. Yesterday was just an introduction. I showed a little bit about Discord membership options, and also I explained a little bit about giveaway. But today, I guess I will dedicate this day just for introduction for cross-site scripting as a whole. I will introduce this vulnerability, explain core concepts, explain probably some basic payloads, and afterwards I will read some XSS articles on Medium. Later on later streams, we might dive into more better write-ups, but as a beginning, it will be it will be good practice to see if like regular people are writing up, even though those people are not like regular bug hunters. But I do like read those articles since I could give you instant feedback if it's good or not, because I see a lot of people reading wrong things and do not understand vulnerability correctly. So I will do like structured way of how you can approach learning about this vulnerability. I know most of you already know some core basics, but at the end I will also like add my own intakes for that. So I guess it will be still some value for you at least. And I guess it will be entertaining because I will be reading articles. You don't need to read, you can just listen. So it will be cool as well. Okay, so chat, let me know how are you doing today. Have you found any bugs? How your journey is going? Today I got critical actually, and it was also XSS from Amazon. So that's cool. That's cool. Got 12K for that bug. So pretty cool. Yeah. So and other thing, I will only respond to the Twitch chat, as I said, like in previous stream. Some of you might join right now, but yeah. So okay, I see. Congrats, thank you. Hunted on BDPs ends up with nothing. Yes, X forwarded for access control today. Congrats. Okay, thanks. Yeah, like hunting on VDPs initially, you could try it to test some tools or like until you get your first bug, but don't stay there too long. Uh, like what I should do instead of like hunting VDPs constantly, I should try to learn as much as possible and stick to one program. But you like, if you're using that product yourself, you should focus testing that product. It should be fun to test. You have to enjoy the process for sure. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining, guys. So yeah, we're gonna start soon. I see some people are still joining, so let's probably wait for a couple more people, and we will get back. We will like start reading. So not only I will be reading, as the first thing I guess I gonna show you the introduction video. What I really like for introduction to new vulnerabilities is Integrity's video. They have like pretty short 100-second videos about each of vulnerabilities. So I will review that video first, add my own comments to that, and then I will show you the best resources actually to like continue learning. And then once we get some core knowledge, we could start reading some articles of people, because for bug hunters what is most important is to know where actually you should hunt for those vulnerabilities. And the successful hunters, or maybe not so successful, but even the people who found those bugs, also like really important to understand the mindset, how they did that. So steps to reproduce actually, that's pretty cool. All right, so I guess we can continue. Let's switch to the main screen. screen. Yeah, I have Twitch open. Yesterday I tried to set up some Twitch things. I set up some alerts, so when the new followers will come to the stream, I will see some alerts, hopefully. So yeah, this is like initial video what I wanted to show you, just XSS in 100 seconds by Integrity. It's really good platform. I really like the treasures here. They are, at least to my experience, they are one of the best from all of like main platforms.
This is XSS in 100 seconds. Cross-site scripting, or XSS, is a type of injection attack that has been around since the 90s.
Yeah, so XSS actually existed for a while, a long time. Like, I think this is the date when the World Wide Web was introduced as well. So when it was introduced, if you know like how internet works, internet was already in place, but World Wide Web was around this time, and together with this, three main languages were also introduced for that. Which were used by the browser. It was HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So JavaScript is functional language, and the HTML had some like things where you can basically inject the JavaScript code. So the first, almost the same year when the website were introduced, the XSS were also introduced. So that's pretty interesting to see this graph. But the vulnerabilities were not that common back then because there were not enough internet to hack on, probably. So that's why it's like pretty weird graph, but interesting.
But the attack is still prevalent as ever. An XSS can allow an attacker to execute malicious code within the browser of a victim. This may allow the attacker to steal cookies, capture passwords, perform CSRF attacks, take over accounts, and much more.
Yeah, so like this is pretty interesting. Stealing cookies is like many people just show this, the stealing cookies with alert, but that's usually not enough when you are submitting reports to like many platforms. Your end goal should be account takeover, but sometimes that could not be possible, so you can try some sensitive actions with SRF that could be little bit lesser severity than whole account takeover, and sometimes capturing passwords, and not only passwords, sometimes like you can capture credit card details. Some browsers like Chrome, Firefox have autofill options, and you can actually modify your JavaScript payload to do some autofills and maybe send some data to the malicious server as well. So that's like a lot of ideas what you can do. And of course, like you can do keyloggers, you can do worm XSS, but I won't want to expand too much right now.
Capture passwords, perform CSRF attacks, take over accounts, and much more. XSS occurs when untrusted user data is rendered by the browser. The easiest way to get code execution out of rendered HTML is by using script tags.
Yeah, so this is the first payload that everybody actually learns about when like knowing about XSS. We're just injecting script tags, like this is closing tag, this is opening, and this is JavaScript function. So at the user interface this will happen basically. But there are also pretty basic common payloads, like different ones.
But due to browser mitigations, other forms such as an erroring image.
Yeah, this is the image tag error. So it will load the X, which is not present, that image is not present on the page or other page. And on the error, it will fire the function, which is alert basically. So it will do the same as the proof of concept.
Tag have become popular. XSS comes in many forms such as reflected, stored, and DOM-based. The simplest form is reflected XSS, where an application receives user data in a request and immediately returns a reply containing our data.
So yeah, this is the simplest XSS. Is basically you test those types of XSS on URL usually. As you can see, get profile name, and right here you can just inject your JavaScript tags. And yeah, it's pretty easy to do so. And reflected XSS happens within same request and response cycle usually, but it could also happen between two requests. Actually, don't limit to one request. Sometimes this could happen as well.
User data in a request and immediately returns a reply containing our data. A stored XSS arises when the application stores the user input and includes it in further requests. Think about comments on a blog post. In examples of DOM-based XSS, the user input is used on the client's side and included in the DOM, document object model, or pretty much just your...
Yeah, some people don't know what is DOM basically, but DOM is the contents of the web page. If you like right click on the web page and go to view source, all the information there is like considered as the document. All the data is like structured into objects, and those objects model is like that document objects model. Yeah, basically those
web
three
page.
words.
This occurs most due to the use of sinks, unsafe functions such as inner HTML. DOM-based XSS is very hard to detect as the payload doesn't have to be sent to the server. The main mitigation of XSS is the filtering, sanitization, and encoding of user data within the application. However,
Yeah, I guess we will talk about those defenses later on, but you have to know that there are certain headers, certain security headers, some cookies and developer things that could be done to prevent this, as well as firewalls. We all hate firewalls.
several other measures can be taken to reduce the impact of an XSS, such as setting the HTTP only flag on cookies or implementing a strong CSP or content security policy. This has been XSS in 100 seconds.
Yeah, so even in 100 he reviews like core concepts really quickly, but in order to understand them really well, the extra step what you should do is go to the resources I really like and I really recommend. Those are even on my Discord channel as a reference. So like the first where you should go is to Portswigger and try to do their labs about XSS. We also like explain what is XSS in general, how it works, as well with some nice pictures, and they have a lot of labs where you can actually do hands-on experience. So yeah, it is very common to use alert function, but sometimes those functions could be blocked by a web application firewall, so instead you can use prompt or print. Print function will basically do this. We'll try to print the current page. So I just smashed Ctrl P to do that, but you can also use JavaScript for that function as well. And of course, it explains like those are three different XSS types: reflected, stored, and DOM-based. DOM-based are a little bit advanced because you have to know a little bit about JavaScript. Mainly you just need to know some sensitive functions which are called sync functions, and all of those could be like reflected, stored, and even DOM could be also blind XSS. And blind XSS is even more advanced stuff, because how it works, you like when you submit the payload won't show up instantly, or even won't be stored straight away. Like it could be your payload could execute after a while, and for that to like get the information when the payload trigger, because it might trigger on other computer or on other system, and if it just fires alert you won't know. So you have to know when your payload triggered. So in that case you need to have blind XSS server. Like I see people using XSS.report page mostly these days, or you can also use XSS Hunter or even host your own XSS Hunter instance, as I am doing actually. So I will talk way more about blind XSS, but after like introduction. So it is also like explained about different types, so we will dive a little bit deep right now. So reflected XSS, as you can see, firstly, before even trying XSS, what you want to do is try regular HTML injections. So inject the tags and see if that paragraph was injected in the page. So what you will do, you will just go to inspect or view source and see if all of this payload is like not being escaped, if those characters like this, and these are not being escaped. It looks the same as in your payload, and if that is true, it means you have done HTML injection. So the later on step is like injecting your JavaScript payload. So you are just injecting here, and at the page it will show up like this. So this is just reflected in like very basic common terms, and stored XSS is when your payload, when you, like for example in the blog, submit comment, and that comment will be stored in the database and then displayed on the page when you go read that comment. So it will be mostly permanent XSS, but also stored XSS not necessarily could be permanent XSS. There are cases where you can find stored XSS which are not permanent. I had couple of reports like that. When it's like for limited time you will get stored XSS. I will give you a good example. Sometimes you can, when you're adding some certain items in the store, you can like edit the product name, and as the product name use JavaScript payload, and when you go to the cart, that like your JavaScript payload could fire, but cart items would not exist like all the time. It is limited time, so that's why it's not like permanent XSS. And DOM-base, basically you look for those when you identify vulnerable functions. I usually not that good with JavaScript. I know some basics for sure, but mainly what I will do, I will look for most of the sync functions like inner HTML, and just use Ctrl F and search on the page. Or I also run Burp Suite. Burp Suite also easily spots these, like some of the time. Yeah, that could also happen. But if the product is heavily tested, it's really low chance. But I even found some DOM-based XSS on really heavily tested websites. Even Burp Suite, like give me pop-up, and like thousands of people tested those. But still, like every day new bugs are being produced. The developers are creating bugs every day. So yeah, and also like use cases of XSS, there is even more. You can impersonate user, but basically, yeah, those were already explained in this, like the main use cases. And the impact as well, it could be critical. If it's blind XSS, it could be critical because you can get admin access. It could also be pretty critical almost, or sometimes truly critical, if you get account takeover. High vulnerabilities will include like leaking some credit card information, leaking passwords, which is also could be as account takeover, unless the user has some, I don't know, like two-factor authentication every time he needs to log in, then that's not necessarily critical. But yeah, it really depends on the case usually. But it varies from low to critical. It really depends on the case here. And how to find XSS vulnerabilities, we won't read that too much, but your homework is try to read as much as possible. If you haven't read these pages, I really recommend, but I don't want to spend majority of time here. The fun part will be when I will be reading most of the people's write-ups. So yeah, and yeah, also this interesting thing, content security policy. As the mentioned at the end of the video, there are some protection mechanisms, and CSP is one of the protection mechanisms. There are the ways how you bypass CSP, but CSP is basically the headers which will define which content will be loaded from where. So if I go to the content security policy page, it will say, but TSP is a browser mechanism that aims to mitigate XSS and some other attacks. It could be clickjacking as well. Clickjacking is other type of attack, but usually those are out of scope, so I won't even bother like explaining that to you. If you have free time, you can read about it, but we will learn about XSS mostly. So that TSP policy is basically the header on request and like response as well, which tells like which resources could be loaded from where, so such as scripts and even images. And like it restricts if the page could be framed by other pages as well. But like if you start testing, that won't be used everywhere. CSP is not really popular because it's actually creates a lot of disadvantages for developers to develop the page. They will have a lot of problems. So it's not really that popular, but it's pretty good mechanism to prevent that. When you see CSP, don't get discouraged straight away, because sometimes you have to understand how it works firstly, but usually it will say that it will be a little bit harder to exploit XSS. And basically CSP is being described by the origin. So for example, this one will say that it's being used as the same origin, and you have to understand what origin means actually. So if we go even deep to the rabbit hole, origin contains mostly of the scheme, which is like this. It could be HTTPS, so it will be a different scheme, but this case is HTTP. The domain and the port. The port is right here. If it's not written, it means it's port 80. So if those three things combined is origin. So if one of these things are different, it means the different origin. So it's basically explained right here. So this is like example. This is like a path, but path does not include origin. So this means access permitted. So the same scheme. So as you can see here, HTTP, the same domain, also normalwebsite.com, and the port as well is the same because we cannot see. So it is permitted to load from this page, even if we are on this page. Right here, it is also same thing, but the path is different, but still it's allowed to load from this page. But right here, for example, it's different scheme, so it uses HTTPS and the port. The port here is different. You know what? Why? Because the HTTPS uses 443 port, not 80. Even though it's not defined, it means that it uses different port because it's HTTPS. Different domain, even like subdomain could be different domain. Like even www could be considered as different domain, and this is the case when it's different port. So if you like, this is the origin. You have to understand what origin means, and right here it means it uses the same origin, the same I won't say the website, but same origin, and the scripts will be loaded. It could be different path. So for example, if you find XSS on different path on the same origin, you can chain to like different XSS. Yeah, so but CSP could be bypassed. We might go deeper into the rabbit hole. So there are a couple of ways to do so, but right now we won't go too deep. Right now what's really important to understand is the types of XSS, what it is basically, and the impact and what you can do with it. So it could be, depends on the case, but it could be different severities. And then what I really wanted to show you before going everywhere else. So there are like other resources called from the OWASP. OWASP, this information is actually being used to create these articles because OWASP is pretty good organization. So it will basically also explain even in more detail like those different types of XSS, and it could happen even on the server, or it could happen on the client. It means on the browser that you're currently using. So it will go even deeper. So this is also pretty good OWASP.org resource about types of cross-site scripting. And I seen a lot of mistakes about XSS, and people don't know when it's like self XSS and when it's like normal XSS. So there is just simple wiki page like which actually explains that. So like self XSS is the attack to gain control of web accounts. In self XSS attack, victim on attack runs in their own browser, thus exposing personal information of the attacker, kind of vulnerability. So if I, for example, open the Chrome tools in the console and just write alert here, it is the self XSS. It is actually, I'm hacking myself. I'm hacking nobody. This could happen like not only when I put information in my own browser, but it could happen while uploading files, and those files are only reflected to you. For nobody else, it won't be stored. Maybe your file name could be as the payload, but it will be only reflected to you. So basically the post request, it could be not even like uploading files, it could be just a post request where you submit the payload, and some XSS only on your cookies. But there are ways to turn the self XSS into normal ones, but usually when if you just submit this stupid thing, self XSS, you will get informational and you will damage your reputation. Don't do this. You have to think outside the box how to turn this into like normal XSS. So yeah, read this page, but basically to understand it, as I said, like everything is happening only in your browser. While some might ask like what's the difference between reflected then and like self XSS. Reflected XSS would happen if I, for example, send the link for other user opens the link and it will happen on his or her browser, then it's like reflected XSS. If I not, there is no way for me to send you know like alert or something. I need to like get access to your browser to do that. So it's not that simple to, you know, so to do so. So yeah, we understood like basic core concepts about this. Let's probably continue. One of my favorite resources when actually like learning maybe about new vulnerabilities. Of course XSS is like not new vulnerability, but when learning about, I don't know, vulnerabilities which are not, I haven't exploited pretty commonly, I like reading reports. The Bug Bounty Hunter has disclosed, which actually categorized multiple bug bounty reports. I know those are kinda outdated. I'm not sure if I really want to open this. Let's see on the other page. Okay, I'm not signed in. I don't want to sign in accidentally. Yeah, it says recent report, but it's 3 years ago, so it was not updated. But still, most of the XSS attacks are like, most of them could be reproduced as in the reports for a while ago. Even in 2016, I seen some reports which has the same payloads that people are still using these days. Of course, there are way more protection right now. There are way more aggressive web application firewall rules. But if you are hunting on new program, which don't have a lot of protections, you will have higher chance to finding those type of bugs. So what I like is going by the vulnerability type. So there are even, you can see by the type, but let's go to the generic, and this, let's read couple of reports to understand like how people are submitting report, and I will say which reports are pretty good and what you should do and should not do. Let's maybe review a couple of reports which actually paid higher than $200. So let's read a couple of them, because the more money they got, usually it not necessarily means that's good report, but it means that on the higher tier program the bug was found, so it could be pretty interesting. And sometimes, what also my advice, sometimes you can read report and just try to see if that exploit is still that location is still available, and try to like modify the payload and try to reproduce. Maybe you can like come up with payload that you can bypass that fix, so even like then you can like earn extra vulnerability. Yeah, I see one report is not accessible now. So one on Shopify, XSS vulnerability in expert Shopify. What this report is actually missing is missing little bit of summary, but if it's like reflected XSS, I guess people just like to like smash steps to reproduce and that's it. So just go here, sign up, fill fields, and under portfolio images put, so this might be stored XSS. Now save, it will be redirected. Yeah, this is actually stored XSS. So it was using escape from the context. So it was escaping double quotes and then closing tag and then injecting, as we already seen, image tag with like error. We are creating error here, and on the error, this is like called event handler, we have alert just showing the domain. Well, just creating stored XSS report with just show alert and showing domain, this could earn maximum medium severity bug, but like on error you could create like more serious JavaScript function and even chain this with like some serious bug for sure. We will learn a little bit more about chaining bugs, but as I see, like the first mistake what he did, unless this program will only accept as the like not account takeover, it will always, if initially it was XSS made, and even though if it's like end result is account takeover, if they are accepting as XSS, then yeah, it's worth to just showing this. But some good programs, I think Shopify is pretty good program back then, at least. It was pretty old report, but back then I think they were much better. Right now I seen people like saying not so good things about it, but I guess back then if you get proof with what you can do account takeover instead of medium, you could learn like critical. So think about that every time. You need just to spend some extra hour or so. Just use ChatGPT. It could help you a lot. So yeah, Shopify, that's pretty cool. For this bug, I think they earned $500. So it's not written right here, but I guess they crawled the information before it was hidden here. So that's cool. One in Uber. So he discovered reflected XSS. So reflected XSS, he haven't even created the steps to reproduce, but like it's pretty easy to reproduce. Just go to the link basically, and when accessing with appropriate parameters, for example this one in the browser, blah, 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 in the browser where the page has not been accessed previously in the current session, the get parameter location is reflected in the page without validation sanitization. He is explaining pretty hard to read actually, but basically the vulnerable parameter is location, and if we try to check it here, location, yeah, right here, equals Carolina, Puerto Rico. He is not injecting right here, he's just using the link, but he also included the browser number. Sometimes it's good to include your browser number, because sometimes some vulnerabilities, some XSS will work on one browser but on another it won't be reproducible. So sometimes in case the treasure uses different browser and he or she won't be able to reproduce the problem, that's pretty good thing to include in your reports. So right here he's including the script alert, the simplest, easiest injection as possible. So yeah, that's pretty. Sometimes that could be easy, but this, as you can see, the date, the initial date was quite a while ago, more than 9 years. So right now on Uber, I don't think you will find XSS that easily. They have way more defense mechanisms, but there are some new programs which actually joining the platforms, and those programs may not have been well tested and the scope are pretty huge, so you can try on those. You can even find ones there, but right now it's much safer on some programs, trust me, for sure. If you have tried yourself, you will know. So Nextcloud gallery view, let's see. Oh, Franz Rosen, he is really good hacker. I really recommend like reading everything he wrote and like watching everything what he like shows. He's really good hacker. I mean crazy. Okay, just the summary of the company itself, but the report is right here. Hi, nice program, launch, congrats. He's like greeting program. Sometimes it's also pretty good to, if it's your first report, sometimes writing things like this, like initially at the beginning, is pretty good. Like, hello, thank you for the opportunity. I really would like to spend more time on your program. It's really interesting product. Don't go too deep, but some like one sentence could be pretty good start, especially if you're interacting with not via trash team but directly to the program. It's really good to like be very polite at the beginning, and it's really good to start with a good report as well. Okay, I noticed that there was a share icon when toggling gallery view in directory under Nextcloud files. So there is directory icon, I guess. This one probably. Gallery view. Okay, let's zoom out. I guess. Yeah, this is a share icon. Right here, share icon. If your directory has a malicious name, such as HTML payload and the easiest image source on error alert payload, easiest payload as possible, next to script alert, this HTML will run when clicking share icon. So yeah, right here. And he's shown the source as well. And I think, yeah, when you click share the link, drop down. Oh, and this report is so old, like it's also from 2016. Even you can see the alert window is it uses so old interface. It's crazy. So yeah, the payload is being injected here at the like the contents or directory, yeah. I tried this payload on GitHub when like on the repository you are creating new files. It is being escaped, but it works pretty similar. So it won't be possible to do XSS there, but it's like similar place. And I see you have proper CSP in place, but remember, but Internet Explorer is not there yet. Oh yeah, and the fun thing about Internet Explorer, it was not following the latest security headers per se. That's why for security people, like at the time, most of them were saying that it's not so safe probably. That's why many people eventually started using Internet Explorer just for downloading other browsers. So yeah, this one was trashed pretty quickly, and he received the reward of pretty good reward. It is basically stored XSS. When that XSS were stored with this payload on directory name. So let's see what else. This report data is not yet maybe it was disclosed before. Nahemsep submitted to Yahoo.com program, Yahoo Messenger via calendar, Yahoo. So he found XSS on calendar basically. Zendesk. Okay, we will review a couple of reports. I don't want to read too many reports. What I really like reading even more is reading of the writeups, because writeups even say how they ended up like getting XSS, what steps they took to find it, because right now what we are reading, the steps to reproduce. So maybe yeah, let's read those couple of two and we will like continue on there. Go to go to developers and desk account, and under account information put the payload XSS on alert. So it's also like similar payload. Right now you don't even need to put the quotes, as the browser will do most of the things for you. And save the settings. So under account settings, in the organization field, so usually stored XSS is really interesting to put in your profile information. If you're just starting out and you're trying on old, well managed, well tested programs, this won't be necessarily the case unless you have like magic skills to bypass web application firewall. Those could usually happen on the not well tested websites. So think of private programs, and mostly maybe self-hosted programs, because there are a lot of self-hosted programs. You're gonna find those types of holes even today. Like I know this report is extremely old as well, but still, like you could find those still nowadays, even like that many time ago. But there are some screenshots. I won't download it. It's just basic stored XSS. Okay, let's see. Reflected XSS. Okay, parameter P. Sometimes there could be like these parameters. Like what the hell? What did they do mean? What they mean? So if user logs, visits the page, and instead of P air fiber, inject this one. And this one is a little bit advanced, but not too advanced, just escaping the context. So basically double quotes, closing tag, and using script alert. And he is also like showing that you can leak the cookie. But as I said, like sometimes what you want to do is instead of submitting bug like this, submitting reflected XSS, you might want to spend some extra time to like chain with other bug. So yeah, that will be enough reports for today. I guess what we're gonna try to read next is some like write-ups on Medium. Most of the write-ups are premium only, and but I have the membership, but I don't want to show the paid content because I know it could be against the rules of Medium, so I don't want to break the rules, but I will read some public write-ups. So, and yeah, there is same origin policy. I wanted to show it, but basically you can read it yourself later, because we have like 15 minutes to for like also to like read some basic reports about XSS on here, and then I will maybe spend some extra time answering a couple of questions as well. But also, when you ask questions, ask about XSS. Like, I prefer, if you ask about XSS, you can ask a little bit about some other things, but don't go for other vulnerability types right now. So yeah, I was querying what is XSS. Just wanted to see what other people are writing on Medium, because sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times, there are like beginners, extremely beginners, who are just writing blogs here. So it's kind of cringe to read some reports. Really, it's fun for me sometimes. And there are what I usually read when there are a lot of claps, but that not necessarily mean that it could be good reports to read. So let's maybe scroll a bit down at the bottom. All right, let's see. All right, we will go deeper into the rabbit hole for sure, and we will learn some extra things at the top. What we, if you like haven't learned too much, we will learn for sure something new as well, and I will add my input. Okay, I scrolled almost to the bottom. HTML injection to remote code execution. Wow, it sounds really bad. What could happen here? Let's read it. So, HTML injection, also known as cross-site scripting, is web security vulnerability that allows attackers to inject malicious code into web pages viewed by other users. If not properly addressed, HTML injection could lead to remote code execution. What? That's kind of suspicious, but let's read. Where an attacker could execute arbitrary code on the server or client side. Okay, this looks suspicious as hell to me. In this blog, we will explore HTML injection to RCE and provide examples of code snippets to demonstrate how this vulnerability can be exploited. Okay, HTML injection basics. You don't need to explain a lot of basics, but HTML injection occurs when an attacker is able to inject malicious code into web page when executed by user's browser. So basically, you're just injecting certain HTML tags, like where I showed you before. This could be done through various means, including input fields, URLs, and cookies. Once the code is executed, the attacker can steal sensitive information, perform actions on behalf of the user, or even take control of user's browser. To understand how HTML injection works, consider the following code snippet. So he's just showing the HTML form. So in this form, there is a post request, there is search method, and the parameters are query. This is actually label, this is not parameter, it's just an element just to show on the form like the word search, this one. And the input field right here, the name of the input will be the name on the post method when you send it, and the button submit. So when you click this button, the value of this input will be sent as the post request basically. So this code creates simple search form where user can enter search query and submit it to the server. However, if attacker is able to inject HTML code into the search query, it can be executed by user's browser, leading potential security issues. So, okay, RCE is interesting. If an attacker is able to inject JavaScript code into the web page, we can use this to execute arbitrary code and achieve RCE. For example, consider following search query. Okay. Console log. I wouldn't say this is RCE. I call RCE usually when it's happening on the server side, and when you're actually injecting like OS based commands, like Linux commands, things like that. I usually consider that RCE. Well, technically, yeah, it's code execution. It's JavaScript code execution, so technically, yeah, it's not really wrong, but when people think about RCE, they think about OS injections. So I'm not sure. Like, the title is pretty weird, but this okay, this is not that old probably, but still. Maybe I need to set the filter stories. No, never mind. Let's try to read it. So yeah, he's just injecting this code. Instead of alert, he's using console log. So the console log function, what it will do, it will just, if I write console log, it just will write to the console. If you open the console right here, so if I say hello, it's just write hello right here. So if on the user's browser, it will just write right here. Sometimes I do paste this at the end of my blind XSS payload. I don't want to trigger alerts for like in the admin panel, so that's why I just want at the end just do console log, and when Treasures reviews my where the injection happened, actually on which page it ended up, they will like check the console right there. When they go there, they will check the console, and then they see my name. So I like use console log only then. Usually I'm not using that. If this query submitted to the server is displayed in search results, the JavaScript code will be executed user's browser displaying hello world in the browser's console. However, an attacker could use this technique to inject more malicious code. So right now he's using fetch function and he's fetching from the attacker. So, but you can basically just write script space and like source equals and just place it right here, and you don't need to use like fetch function and wait for the response. But he's evaluating the code, so I guess that's kind of right. That's one of the way how you can also inject, like load the external script, but you can only load this when there is no protection in place. And as we learned, there are same origin policies sometimes that could happen, and the website will only allow loading scripts or even images and other data from the same origin. So this website might not be other origin because there is different domain, there is different scheme, and the port could be also different. I'm not sure. So unless the website uses HTTPS as well, so but it will be still different domain, so that's why it's breaking the policy, so it won't be loaded in that case. This code fetches JavaScript file from the attacker server. When it executes the eval function, this allows attacker to execute arbitrary code on client side, stealing cookies. So it basically, yeah, that JavaScript file could contain a lot of functions of JavaScript. So, but usually there are frameworks for that. You don't need to construct it yourself unless you are feeling like developer and you want to create something new. You're more than welcome, but I usually just use what other people already made, and I'm adding at the top. So XSS Hunter, oh, they're my favorite one. So he's also showing the code example of the vulnerable page. This is the same form method, and then it will be displayed on the same page. So it is stored XSS, but it's stored on the same page. So for each message, It will just submit the message, and that message but user submitted will be placed right here on this list. So it will just fire up like console. It really depends what is on this website. It's pretty basic article. He used remote code execution. It's fancy word to describe HTML injection. I don't know. It's clickbaity type, because what he was basically doing, it's just stored XSS. So yeah. Also another article. It's kind of crazy how these people are just saying, okay, let's the overview. He's doing the same stuff as like previous article. He's also like showing HTML code. Attacker submits. This time this is alert. Like it looks like, I'm not sure if it's even, it's the same guy, but why the hell you want to create two similar articles? They're just basically, instead of remote code execution. Okay, or I'm reading the different article. What the hell? Let me see. No, it's actually two different articles, but those are very similar ones. What the hell? What's the point doing this? I don't get. Okay, avoiding cross-site scripting attacks. So this is for defense side, I guess. I have to understand on how to prevent. I guess this one is more interesting for developers because it's showing defensive side, so we won't read this. Okay, simple tips for bug bounty beginners. Finding blind XSS vulnerabilities. Okay, let's see this one. Among various vulnerabilities found in websites, blind cross-site scripting XSS is a significant threat that could quietly damage the security of web applications. But with right knowledge and tools, we can successfully address blind XSS and ensure the safety of our online system. Okay. Understanding blind XSS, the silent threat. Oh, blind XSS. It's more interesting one actually than those. Blind XSS, also known as persistent XSS or second order XSS, happens secretively executing payloads within applications internally. Not necessarily. Blind XSS, not necessarily. It could not be persistent for sure. Like I gave you an example actually with cards, but imagine that your payload could be stored on like certain admin dashboard, and that payload is like a message on live chat, for example, and that admin dashboard area where your payload stored is temporarily held for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Then the user reviews it and then it's auto delete, for example. Then that won't be necessarily persistent. Second order XSS, I'm not sure if many people are using that term, but let's read. Unlike reflected XSS, where payloads are immediately executed upon input, blind XSS could remain dormant. I don't know what this word actually means. For a while before getting triggered. Yeah, that's true. The blind XSS could happen the same day, same hour, or it could fire after half year or so. Sometimes, yeah, that could happen. The thing about this vulnerability class, when you initially spitting the payloads everywhere, you are just basically investing your time for today in order in the future to get some award, so get some critical, some highs, like in the most cases. So you won't necessarily see the results straight away. This is like the main drawback for blind XSS, but it's extremely rewarding, seriously. And a lot of big companies, big tech companies, like $1 billion worth companies, have a lot of backend systems, and they like track, they like data. Think of data companies who collects your data, like Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon. Those really like collect your data, so it means they have some backend tracking systems. So if you smash the payloads everywhere, construct really good payloads, yeah, they could fire, but not necessarily instantly. It could take months sometimes, so we have to be patient as well. Unlike reflected XSS, where payloads are immediately executed upon input, blind XSS could remain dormant for a while before getting triggered. These payloads are stored within the application's web server or other repositories and take their time before execution. It could take as little as 5 minutes or as long as 8 months for XSS to get executed. Exactly what I was just saying. I should read first and then comment, but I'm really not that patient. Stored XSS and reflected XSS have a lot in common, and the payloads can be used interchangeably, but this is not the case of blind XSS. Well, as I said, like blind XSS could be as like stored and reflected. Sometimes the requests could take really long, and the request could go through multiple locations, multiple servers, and in that case technically it's like reflected XSS, and your payload will be reflected to your server. Not sure, maybe I'm a little bit wrong, but usually I've seen, like on my XSS Hunter, I've seen the place where on like regular URL I put the payload and it was reflected to my blind XSS server. So okay, to begin with, we require a certain URLs to test for blind XSS, which can do using the following online. Oh, okay, here we go. One-liner. The people back then and even these days like to use one-liners. I have used one-liners as well, but don't expect too much from them. So basically I can explain what this will do, but he is also explaining it, but I could like explain it myself as well. Wayback URLs, usually I don't recommend people nowadays to use this tool. There are way better alternatives right now. Either use Go, which is pretty fast, or Waymore. Waymore is the best for that case, like fetching archived data and some third-party services, basically URLs for the website, for the site.com in this case. Grep equals, it's basically just filtering out all the results that have equal signs. It means all the results which have parameters in URLs, and in those parameters in URLs he is just replacing the values with this payload. So he's just escaping single quote, double quote, escaping the tag. It's very basic actually, because we will learn a little bit later what is polyglots and like different contexts. We will learn about these things as well. We will read more articles for sure, but this is really basic as well. And he's passing this to the loop and setting the variable in for the loop called host. So the host is basically all the URLs with this payload. So for each of that he is curling. That it is insecure flag is basically ignoring errors for if there is SSL errors, and he's just using curl command, and he's checking for the responses. So if the response contains these words, then you have to say it's vulnerable, and else if it's like not have the same stuff at the response, it's not vulnerable. So this could actually generate some false positives. I seen some false positives actually by this, but it's like 99%, 95% accurate. It's pretty good script, pretty good one-liner, but Is it effective? I highly doubt about like effectiveness. You could find some XSS this way, but maybe on not tested website. It's really like you have to go deep to the application, like register and on the authenticated flow. And usually authenticated flow functionalities won't be accessible via tools like this. So just use Burp Suite instead. And yeah, you basically explained the one-liner. He also explained some flags of the curl command, which is also cool. So for blind XSS detection, because he was talking about blind XSS, but on this one-liner, what he did, he was just testing for reflected XSS. So this is not blind. So, and then he continues. For blind XSS, detection depends upon tricking the web server into executing malicious payloads. Unlike other XSS that show immediate feedback, like DOM or reflected, he means, or responses upon successful exploitation, blind XSS queries requires patience and observation. Observation, I don't think observation, if you can set up notifications to your email. Like today, I received so many notifications from my blind XSS server, but basically the administrator was like clicking like crazy every time he was like refreshing page. I received like tomorrow at the morning, I mean not tomorrow, today at the morning, I woke up and I seen my, I don't know, phone vibrating, and I checked the notifications and my email had got like 100 notifications from blind XSS server. That was crazy because I don't know, admin is doing some crazy stuff and like going back and forth every time, and the payload was triggering a lot of times. All right, so websites such as XSS Hunter play pivotal role here, leveraging customized payloads to probe weakness and alert users when blind access is triggered. Yeah, right now, these days, XSS.report are more effective, I guess. So yeah. But I use XSS Hunter self-hosted instance. I have already a couple of blogs how you can set up yourself. Those are pretty good. You can check it out. Just visit my website. It's you can find it pretty easily if you know how basic recon works. Basically, the links are almost everywhere. But yeah. XSS Hunter empowers researchers to detect blind XSS accurately and efficiently by inserting payloads containing the script source parameter equal. Okay, he's basically using words to describe it, so crazy. Researchers can monitor any signs of attacks. When attack is detected, XSS Hunter provides valuable. Yeah, it's just basically talking about basics, but right now he is just showing the payload. I don't know why he is using double quote and double quote. Maybe it's mistake. It should be single quote and double quote, because why you want to escape twice the same context? I don't know. Escaping the tag, and right here, like script source, and loading the like page of XSS Hunter. So he's probably using his own instance because it could be private domain. I don't want to click on that. To chain load payload for sites with jQuery. He's also using jQuery payload. So basically, I think he shown this one-liner, but on this one-liner he was just testing for reflected access, even though he like whole article was about blind access. So I'm not sure. It's very not straightforward. It's all around the places. It's not very well structured, because you like, at least if you are using one-liner, just use blind XSS payload here. This is reflected XSS payload. So I don't know. There were various payloads where blind access could be exploited and monitored using access payload fires tab in. And again, like, writing is okay, I guess, the grammar, everything here, but the structure is missing. And the also I would like to see screenshots and examples, actual examples. That would really help, because he just included one liner, explained one liner, and explained what is like blind XSS. And yeah, I guess. And right here is just explaining impact. Blind access can potentially provide access to sensitive information such as cookies. Yeah, the impact is critical or high usually with blind access, because usually that fires on admin pages. Usually. Unless you cannot see the cookies, you cannot leak any sensitive information, and it only fires on some kind of iframes or isolated sandboxed websites, then it's not really worth to even report unless you can exploit that. But you cannot really straight away exploit that. It has to fire again in order to exploit that, so that's pretty hard. So yeah, fixing and preventing. This one is not interesting for us because we are hackers. We are not the guys who were fixed. But yeah, understanding it, if you are producing report, the mitigation part, you can include that. So, and understand how people are fixing this in order to re-exploit it later, it's also pretty good. But input, validation, sanitization, encodings, yeah, but you can bypass that. Sometimes CSP is usually pain in the ass for bug hunters for sure. Security headers, so yeah, those headers are also like, when you see in the response XSS protection, that's I don't want to say it's not unexploitable, but yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, and conclusion. So this, I guess, it's very long article, but it's going places. Let's read one more probably. I want to read one more, like, good article. Okay, it's just writeups, front-end developers, basics of XSS, cyber risk. Okay, this guy don't even have claps. Why is that so? This is like missing image. You just added a lot of images. Explain the types and what XSS stands for. It's really basic. That's why I haven't received any claps. It's really basic. So yeah, it's called XSS basic, but please do include like extra information. It's crazy. Let's see. Okay, this is I really like those type of articles when they say like even in which company. Technically, if you are only allowed to disclose that, it's worth to like do write up like this. But let's think that it's allowed. Probably for this asking this tweet and this tweet, it's about when we will explain the details. Okay, what is this tweet? Okay, this payload is pretty interesting, but this could be self-XSS as well. But let's see. But in this case, this payload is also like escaping the context. It's using SVG tag, and this one is pretty interesting. Sometimes simple stuff like this could like help escape some basic WAF rules. It will be used as the space and onload alert friendly, and he's using SVG. So uploaded SVG that contains XSS, and the file name itself was the payload. So this one is interesting. Unless that SVG file is displayed everywhere, it is stored XSS. if it's only displayed to you, it's self XSS. So let's see other tweet. We'll be explaining the details as much as possible. Okay, let's see. Write up for access through NoxSS. NoxSS is just a framework. Fun payloads. Okay, let's see. For XSS, you want to have Kali Linux, NoxSS, and SVG that contains XSS. Well, not necessarily you need to have Kali Linux. You can use any software, any operating system. It's up to you. Why Kali Linux? Because hackers use it, because pen testers use it. No, I used through all of my career, I used many different operating systems, and I'm not a fanboy of any of those. Like, I use different operating systems all the time, and I won't say that this is my favorite one, but I like certain stuff about certain operating system, and that's about it. NoxSS is a framework. Some people had some success using that, but I don't want necessarily say that it's only way to do so. I'm just using manual approach. So an SVG that contains XSS, so basically the file name. And yeah, file name of XSS payload could not be easily done using Windows. You cannot do this on Windows, so that's why Kali Linux. Yeah, probably that's why. But you can do this with Mac, probably Unix-based operating system, not necessarily Kali Linux. Could use Ubuntu, create file on Ubuntu, and then like load that file to the page. Because on Windows you cannot create file name including like opening brackets, how those are called, I'm not sure. Like this symbol you cannot create, like many symbols are not allowed. Okay, so, and the basic understanding how a mail rendering is displayed on users, admins, and client-side email, ticket supports, and on the web page. If you do not have SVG that contains XSS, I highly recommend to use the one I will provide. He has this, and it's nothing shown here. Make a file name called svg, then edit the file name and paste the following code. So this is the code of the SVG file. It has SVG tags. Inside there is something polygon points, blah blah blah, and inside this is like script type of JavaScript. I think in SVG you have to specify that, and this is the alert. Yeah, and you can upload some SVG files, but if you can upload malicious files, usually you can do some even serious things, like if you can upload HTML SVG files only, then yeah, like cross-site scripting is the way to go. But you want to try for extra extensions if you find file uploads, because it could be even like more critical, or not, like more severity out of that. So very basic stuff. Well done. You have SVG that contains XSS. So it's inside the SVG file, but not inside the name of the SVG file. Okay, steps to reproduce. First, XSS is from Backrowd HubSpot. Although they only reward points, oh come on. Even though this isn't something you guys care about, only the money, but it's good stepping stone to learn about security. Yeah, if you're just learning, if you are just seeking for career, probably, but don't stay too long, I guess. To do this, you will need an account on HubSpot to test on. Alright. First we go to app HubSpot, then edit our signature. Alright. And first thing to do, I really like this write-up. It's way better like previous ones because he gives a lot of screenshots. He explains, he categorizes, he mentions the tweets. He's really good in explaining stuff. And like screenshots, really worth more than the 1,000 words. One screenshot is worth more than 1,000 words. So to do, you need to go create account. Yeah, authenticated functionality. As I said, like if you want to find bugs, create accounts. First, go to app HubSpot and edit your signature. Editing signature. First thing you need to see is input field. I tried very basic payloads which are here. So basically, multiple payloads. Right here. Okay, this one looks pretty weird. Not sure what he's doing here. Pretty weird payload. This one is like pretty like basic. You're just escaping the tag. Right here, I don't know, this one is also pretty weird, but this one I understand. He's escaping the script tag in case there is script tag. Yeah, oh, here is also like could be some before things what he is escaping. On mouse over, I don't like this because this usually lowers the severity, the event handlers like this. If you, for example, aim for medium, because of this you can earn low severity bug, because it will require, instead of one user interaction, 2 user interactions, and that is excuse for them to pay lower. So on mouse over, I don't like those. But if it's only the event handler you can send, so maybe yeah, then. My favorite one works like 80% of the time for me on mouse over. Yeah, but still very low severity, bro. Okay, style. He's escaping style. Okay, he's using some obfuscation right here. So this one's a bit advanced, so alright. However, so he said like he tried multiple payloads. He showed a couple of them. It's really good to have some good payloads in your notes every time in case you don't want to write every time off top of your head. What you can do is use clipboard extensions, or as me, I am just using my notes, and I have a lot of payloads in my notes. And if you want to get my payloads, I have a membership subscription for that. You can check this out as well. So I did notice that there was what, an image icon there though, so I guess he noticed this one. So I clicked on it and I saw my SVG being visible, and I was able to upload it. So he just uploaded SVG with the payload inside this one, like this. Clicked on my SVG and uploaded. SVG uploaded directly to the server and wasn't filtered at all. So yeah, another thing with payloads like this as SVG, it really depends where those are being uploaded, and sometimes those could be uploaded to CDN, and there will be certain security mechanisms to only like load images from there, so it will be harder to exploit something like that. You have to every time check where it's being uploaded. So if it's uploaded on the same server, it's really good sign. You have, but also want to try, instead of uploading SVG, try other extensions. Every time try this, because even though front end is saying something, it doesn't mean that there will be same checks on the back end. So I went direct link and where my image SVG was, and I got XSS. But the XSS was not on the same website. What are you talking about? You were on the app HubSpot, and this fired on CDN. You're a liar. This guy is lying. Alright, some of you may stop here. However, I didn't stop here. I wanted to go step beyond and step further, maybe for the bigger impact. Yeah, that's really good thing to do. That's really good thing to do. You don't want to get medium every time. You might want to go for extra money. So that's cool. That requires Kali Linux. Okay. Oh, and he is also mentioning you cannot only use Kali Linux, you can use something else for sure. Okay, so he just basically for the file name he used this, so it's pretty good. I put and saved it. After that, I uploaded to the server, and the file name did not change on all location it was being uploaded to. However, I didn't get my XSS. So I changed the file name to, oh, he also escaped. Oh no, he is changed on mouse over and then dehovered. As you can see now, alert says app HubSpot. So yeah, this time it's on the same website, not on CDN. So in that case, the impact is way bigger. But you want to not necessarily give the name on mouse over. Like your end goal should be accounting over, so you might want to like create some external script, try to fetch external script, and that, since right here as the file name you are very limited how amount of characters you can get. So my best bet is try to like fetch the external resource. If that's not possible, then yeah, it's probably this is the max impact. But still, I would try for other event handlers, because on mouse over will require extra interaction. So there will be 2 interactions from the user. Is going to that page where this is stored and hovering over files. So 2 actions, less bounty. And link preview had this alert as well. And what's being included, it shows our SVG. If you like to click on open image in new tab, take SVG which contain access, blah blah blah. Thanks NoXSS for providing insight, powerful payload and bypass. So I guess he was not actually using NoXSS tool, but he was just referencing the guys who own that tool. So yeah, it could be, because I heard the guy who owns the tool helped a lot of people for the bypasses for sure. So basically 2 accesses in 1 page. That's pretty good write-up, because those are not like usual attack vectors known by some people. So kudos to this. And he also reward points, yuck. Finally, XSS via chat module with email XSS. This method was discovered by me, friendly, and works of 17% of the times from websites I came across in last hours, when I was testing with numerous websites with various chatting module systems like this one. Okay, he was just using payloads everywhere here. But instead of using reflected, no, this is actually start. Instead, what I would do, I would paste blind access payload, because you will get way higher severity. Why you... he missed a lot of money because of this. Alright, I tried sending the payload itself without going to the email layer. Unfortunately, I got access. I have seen how it works. Live chat modules. Okay, I guess we will... there is not a lot of to read, so try sending the payload itself. So I will explain why it works and the way live chat modules. If this makes any form of sense to you or helps you in the long run, then be sure let me know on Twitter or tweeting at me. The main question is, why does it work and how it does work? So it's just explaining how the script works. The HubSpot did not reward me for this, however, private freelancing website did, and I did grateful reward for that. Okay, show me the screenshot of the reward next time. Now, which site I get reward from? That's freelancing website, and there's ton websites out there who does offer freelancer bounties for their free time. There's tons that you can find and look your own reward, Google, blah blah blah. I'm not sure he's like saying it's kind of sketchy at the end, but yeah, this is pretty good write-up. So I've been streaming for 1.5 hours right now. I've read some articles. let's see how many are you still there. All right, there are some viewers still watching. Nice. So let me know if you have some questions and we can wrap this up, and I guess for tomorrow we will continue reading some good articles. I will select few good articles for the other stream, which will be different from those. As I wanted to show you, there is professional write-ups and there is like amateur write-ups. Amateur write-ups usually could be found on Medium because there is low barrier to entry to this platform, so that's why, as you've seen, probably there won't be too good, but I will also show you some amateur articles just for fun, because sometimes it's funny, for sure. Okay. So I guess see you tomorrow. If you have some questions, just paste it to the chat, but just paste to the Twitch chat, because I won't necessarily want to read different places, different chats everywhere, or different areas. So have this in mind, and see you on the next stream, guys. See ya.